right, I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Common Council of the City of Platteville for Tuesday, August 25th, 2015, and we'll start with roll call.
Amy C. Both Wilson.
Here.
Mike Den.
Here.
Barbara Doss.
Here.
Barbara Stockhausen.
Here.
Tom Knoll.
Here.
Ken Killian.
Here.
Nylene Nichols.
Here. The first item is consideration of the consent calendar. The following items may be approved in a single motion and vote due to the routine nature of previous discussion. Please indicate to the council president if you would prefer separate discussion and action. A is the August 11th regular council minutes. B is payment of bills. C is financial report for July. D is appointments to boards and commissions. I have none this evening, but we do have openings on the Board of Appeals for ET zoning, and also 2 positions on the Commission on Aging, and 1 alternate for the Historic Preservation Commission. E is licenses, a temporary Class B beer to Platteville Horseshoe Pitching Association at Legion Park for September 4th for the State Horseshoe Tournament. 2 is a temporary Class B beer to Platteville JCs at Legion Park from September 11th through September 13th for Dairy Days. And in our packet is a list of 1-year or 2-year operator licenses to sell or serve alcohol.
Move adoption of the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll vote.
C. Both Wilson.
Yes.
Den.
Yes.
Doss.
Yes.
Stockhausen.
Yes.
Knoll.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next is citizens' comments, observations, and petitions, if any. I do not have any requests this evening to speak. I don't know if the council has any comments or things they would like to note about happenings in the city, or?
I won't note it happening in the city, but I will note that there is a opening ceremony, tour of our renovated courthouse in Lancaster is tomorrow. So if you've been to Lancaster recently in the last year and a half, you've known that there's been scaffolding up all over the place for a long time. And evidently this project is done, and there is a ceremony, I guess you'd call it, I don't know what they call it, at 6 o'clock tomorrow night at the courthouse. So it would be nice to see some folks from Platteville. It is the Grant County Courthouse. It's not the Lancaster Courthouse.
All right, reports in our packet. The Library Board, Nichols, I have nothing to add. Airport Commission, Dawes.
I would just note that on last week, on Thursday, the 20th of August, we had A&A Aviation, who is now both our manager and also offers lessons, held a Young Eagles Day that day, which meant that children or students under of the age of 18 and under were able to go up and fly with a pilot and fly around Platteville at no charge. A&A reported that 46 children showed up and got a look at what it's like to get in a small airplane, fly around and see their city from above, and then I'd also like to thank the American Legion that night came out and had a little food stand so that as parents waited for their children, since it was only children taking the ride, that they could have a brat and have a Coke. So it was a very successful first-time event, so very nice.
Question.
Yes,
Under VE,
in which, what are you looking at? Ken?
Airport Commission meeting,
Okay,
my question is, it says here that we have a personnel commission. Personnel commission, is that an airport committee?
Yes,
Is that a
there's a
city
personnel committee of the airport.
But it's not a commission.
No, it should have probably said the personnel committee of the airport, because the airport commission has several committees, including a personnel committee and a building committee, building and grounds committee, and other committees. So we have several committees. So I don't know where you say, yeah, it probably should have said, and it probably said, that probably got, in the next set of minutes, got corrected to say we have the personnel committee negotiate the contract.
And my next question is, how many planes out there are non-flyable that are stored in hangars?
How many planes are non-flyable?
Thought I read the number 5.
5. We are currently visiting those people who have rented hangar space and reaffirming the FAA requirements relative to what can and cannot be in an airport hangar, since there are regulations, and so it's our understanding that this has not been done for quite a while, and so we are now in the process of making those visits. So I cannot report that because I'm not sure at this point in time that all the visits have been made.
Okay, thank you. That's what I have for that
Okay.
commission.
Parks, Forestry, and Recreation Committee, Seaboth Wilson.
Nothing to add?
I have a couple questions. New business, under A, third line, Clayton Trust, where the principal would, could never be spent. Did you want to write it that way, or did you want to select one of the words?
It's probably an error.
Yeah.
It would make a difference as to which one you selected.
I think it's could never.
Probably I think it's supposed to be could never.
Right.
Okay, next one is a question for Howard. Concern regarding mowing natural areas or forested areas. What is the concern?
There are some concerns regarding forested areas within the city, wooded areas, if you will. We have some larger lots that have small sections of woods, and we have had complaints regarding tall grasses in those areas, basically unmowed underneath the tree canopy. And what we're doing is we're looking at the current rules and regulations, ordinances regarding mowing. Some of those areas are on slopes, and we really don't want to remove or have the vegetation cut real short on sloped areas underneath tree canopies. So we're looking at many different things. The committee is looking at options to update our current ordinances, and we believe that this will be a project that will be ongoing. It will take some education on the part of the committee for the citizens to realize that 3-inch turf grass is not appropriate in all areas. So we need to look at how we can make sure that we have proper ground cover to reduce and eliminate erosion, but also have well-kept areas that people can be proud of when they look out their back windows.
And then it talks about exceptions, and one of these is natural lawns. I've tried to find the definition for natural lawns in the code. It's mentioned, but I've yet to find the definition. So is there going to be a definition made or pointed out?
That's part of the work that the staff and the PFR committee will be looking at, is whether to define natural lawns, how to define that, if so, and bring forth some additional guidance. Like I said, this is going to be a longer process. It's not something that's going to happen overnight.
Okay, thank you.
May I ask Howard something about the lawn thing? Okay, Howard, one thing about, when you talk about 3-inch turf grass mowing, but when you talk about taller grasses and erosion, you want to realize that just because it's taller grass, it's usually going to be thinner grass, and it's going to be more susceptible to erosion than it is well-maintained grasses. Well-maintained grasses, either whether it's 4 inches, 5 inches, but mowed and looks nice, is much more able to withstand erosion than all this 4-foot, 5-foot grass that you have running around because it
Mike,
thins
that's
everything out.
inaccurate. It depends on the variety of grass. So like little blue stem, which is a common native grass around here, has roots that are up to 8,
That's-
12 feet deep.
That's not what we're talking about
That
here,
is
though.
what we're
If they
talking
planted
about.
it there, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the conversation we're
that's
having.
different.
Is it depends on the variety, not necessarily the general concept.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was referring to what's there now,
Oh,
so it's just some,
I have a question about
Thank you.
Knollwood. Is that the right term for the park?
Knollwood?
Knollwood?
Knollwood? Yes.
The trees that went down, is that gonna be cut up over the stream?
The tree will be cut down. We're scheduling that in to get in there and remove that,
Okay.
that large tree. It hasn't been scheduled just yet, but that's part of our.
I didn't know
our
if
work
that's part
plan.
of the natural environment now,
committee's
Oh.
talking about.
which, if that's what the committee wants, it's fine with me. I just was curious.
Okay.
All right. Other reports included in our packet, the water and sewer financial report, airport financial report, and department progress reports. Any questions on any of those?
No, but I did notice in the Department of Administration report that the equalized value of the city is up 2% over last year, and that the population has also expanded by another 400 and some people. So,
go to the college.
no questions, I don't see Dwayne, so.
All right, seeing no further comments or questions, I'm gonna go on to the first action item, which is disposition of Orlo J. Clayton irrevocable trust funds to Community Foundation of Southern Wisconsin.
I can tackle that one. This is just an update to our previous discussion of what to do with those funds that were donated to the city. At our most recent Parks, Forest, and Recreation Committee, that committee recommended to you to, in a 5-to-1 vote, placing $150,000 from that trust into a spendable account, and the remaining funds, which is roughly $130,000, into an endowment fund. Both would be kept within the Community Foundation of Southern Wisconsin. Within that motion, they also recommended that an amount of funds equal to any unspent funds from the $50,000 that was recently transferred from our impact fees to the MPO Trail project be transferred from the spendable account into the endowment account, essentially keeping our total funds that are immediately available to be spent even.
Questions?
Well, I talked to Luke about this, and after talking with him, I thought about your comment. You want to make the impact account whole, back to where it was.
That's the impact. They're two separate accounts. So what I'm looking at and what I was initially asked by the committee was come up with a number that I felt was a safe number to have on hold. They said in case of emergencies, but I think in case a project comes up that you'd want to have. So when I looked at that and I looked at the total funds, I thought the appropriate amount would be $100,000. In addition to that, might be an appropriate amount to be kept. Now, when that total funds of our spendable, what I'd call our immediately spendable accounts, was docked $50 or $50,000, I decided that it might be appropriate to, because of my justification, raise that amount in the spendable account to offset that. Now, with the MPO Trail being a contingency fund, we're not sure we're going to be spending that $50,000. So, if that $50,000 were to come back into that impact fees instead of going to the MPO Trail project, then I would recommend, or the committee recommends, putting that amount back from the spendable into the endowment.
So basically, to reiterate, I think, is that we would be putting $200,000 from the trust into a spendable account and the remaining money into the endowment. And then once we know what the trail cost or didn't cost, we'd then take the difference out and put it into the endowment as well.
The numbers I believe you just quoted were incorrect. But essentially, my initial recommendation was the $100,000 into spendable, the remainder, which would have been $180,000, into the endowment.
Okay.
Once our impact fee changed, my recommendation changed to $150 in the spendable. But yes,
I wasn't sure if the 100 or the 50 got tacked onto the 150 or it was from the 100. Okay, so it's 150 into the spendable account. And whatever doesn't get spent on the trail goes back into the endowment.
an amount equal to that amount.
Yes.
Yes, because it's
to
a separate
50,000.
fund, so
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, my concern here too is that 62,000 was taken from the City Hall CIP, and nothing's being put back into the CIP. Now, it seems to me a fair way, if there's money left over, to split it 50-50 into the impact fee and into the City Hall CIP.
We could not transfer money from the Orlo Trust into the,
No, it's
City-
money from the MPO.
the money from the MPO is impact fee, and I think you'd have a hard time justifying a recreational expense to City Hall.
That's how the original motion was, Ken. I think that the contingency fund, the 50,000, was coming from parks and impact fee specifically, not from the City Hall pool. The City Hall pool was going into the full ask.
Okay, sure.
And it was just the contingency that was coming from the parks and recs impact
I can
fee.
see
Yeah.
how you were thinking then. But yes, that when the motion was made, it was made that the 50,000 coming out of the impact fees was going to be towards the contingency,
Right.
which is the part that could remain unspent. So that's where I was basing my numbers on.
I don't actually think you can spend park impact fees for City Hall anyway.
No,
You can't do that, so those need to go back or whatever,
It-
if they can.
yes.
Other questions or comments? So after all these numbers are being thrown around, Luke, basically, we're saying $150,000 would be in a spendable account, and the remaining $129,905.76 into an endowment fund with the Community Foundation of Southern Wisconsin. And if the $50,000 impact fees are not used for the MPO trail when the project is completed, that you're asking that 50,000 also be transferred to the endowment fund,
Or whatever's left.
Not that amount, an amount equivalent to that
equivalent to that,
would be,
okay.
yeah.
All right,
Make a motion?
yes?
Okay, wish me luck on this one. So I make a motion that we place $150,000 from the Orlo J. Clayton Trust into the new spendable account, with the remaining $129,905.76 into an endowment fund within the Community Foundation of Southwestern Wisconsin, Inc. And here's where I'm gonna struggle with the wording, but up to $50,000 can be transferred from the spendable account into the endowment fund at the conclusion of the construction MPO trail project if it's not needed for the contingency funds.
We have
Can
to use
Jan
work
park
on the
impact
wording?
fees on that.
It's not, it's
already
not
in
the
that
actual
motion.
money, it's an amount equal to that money, which
Yes.
is the only part I think you need to be.
Equal to whatever's not used of the 50,000
the actual money
contingency.
we're transferring is from the spendable account
Mm-hmm.
into the endowment fund, but it's an amount equal to that amount.
That's
'cause
not
that-
spent on the contingency for the trail.
That would work.
Jan, you think you can?
I think so, I think I've got it.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Can that motion be read back,
Please.
please? I'm sorry, Jan, but I just want to have clarification.
Okay, the motion was to place $150,000 from the Orlo J. Clayton Trust into a new spendable account, and the remaining $129,905.76 into a new endowment fund, both within the Community Foundation of Southern Wisconsin, Inc. Also recommend that an amount equal up to $50,000 can be transferred from the spendable account into the endowment fund at the conclusion of the MPO project, basically if unspent.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
for
that
me.
clarifies
It's
it.
okay for my second.
All right, we'll vote.
Seabolt Wilson,
Yes.
Den,
Yes,
Doss,
I abstain.
Stackhausen,
Yes,
Nall,
Yes.
Killian,
yes,
Nichols.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item is Resolution 1520, authorizing the borrowing of $260,970.43 on behalf of the Platteville Redevelopment Authority. Joe?
Yes, at the July 28th meeting, the council voted to provide a 2-year extension to the loan provided to the Bailey Group for improvements to the 85 East Main Street property. That loan was a pass-through loan. We had obtained the funds from Livingston State Bank and then relent it to the Bailey Group. So now we're working with Livingston State Bank to finalize that paperwork. They have a requirement for the council to approve an actual borrowing resolution related to those funds. So that's what this resolution is regarding. The $260,970.43 is the actual balance left on that loan. So essentially, we're taking that amount that was left and providing another 2-year loan on that. So that money will then be used to turn around and loan to the Bailey Group. So they did come in at 2%, which we had talked about last time. So per the council vote at the last meeting, the loan to the Bailey Group will be 3%. Otherwise, it'll be essentially be the same terms, payment terms that we had before.
Joe, could you help me out with this one, please? I thought that we voted to give them a 2-year extension on their balloon payment, period. So they already have a loan, they had a balloon payment coming due. We extended that time that balloon payment came due for 2 more years. They still have the payment, same payment out there. They still have the same loan, just that the balloon payment was extended, so wasn't that what all we were doing? Why were we going out and getting them new loans?
We're taking the amount of that balloon payment, and then they'll be making monthly payments on that for the next 2 years, and then there'll still be a balloon payment on the end, but it'll be lower than what the current amount is. Because
Because of the interest
they'll be
rate?
making 2 years worth of payments onto that.
They'll pay every year, every month.
So they'll still be paying on the original, is that correct?
They'll be paying, that's where that $260,970.43 is the amount that's due on that loan. That's the balloon payment that's due.
Correct, but then why are we going out and getting them another loan for that money? Can't that, since the council extends the balloon payment date, can't that go back to whoever they have the loan with? And then they just keep paying on that loan for another 2 years? We're not,
Well, they have the loan with us.
they did?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we could do that, right?
Well, that's what the council voted at the July 28th
Then
meeting.
why are we going out and getting a new loan from the Livingston State Bank for them?
Because we also have a balloon payment due to Livingston State Bank. So
Okay,
we have to
we do
extend-
also, besides,
Yeah,
because we
it's a-
borrowed
it's
the
a
money from them
pass-through loan.
originally.
We borrowed from the bank
Okay.
and loaned it to them.
We borrowed from
So
them
if we're extending
originally.
them, we don't want to pay off ours because we don't have $260,000
Right,
sitting around. So we're doing the same thing with Livingston State Bank.
okay. I didn't realize that we had borrowed to have the money for them to borrow from us
Yes.
the first time around, because I wasn't here on that one. All right, thank you.
Yes. I make a motion, we adopt resolution number 15-20, authorizing the borrowing of $260,970.43 on behalf of the Platteville Redevelopment Authority.
I'd like to ask a question.
second, and then,
Second, go
Okay.
ahead.
Thank you. Joe, was there an additional amount of $35,000 that was added on to the original loan, or am I mistaken?
There's a separate loan that the RDA had provided to the Bailey Group through their own funds, which is now down to $27,000 or something along those
Okay,
lines.
was that added on to the amount that we were gonna borrow, or just the 260?
No. That was not anything to do with Livingston State Bank. That was the RDA's funds.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate that.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and we'll vote.
Seaboth Wilson,
Yes.
Den,
No,
Doss,
Yes.
Stockhausen,
Yes,
Nall,
I'm gonna abstain.
Killian,
My vote is yes. I think we need to, are you, well, I'll talk about it later.
Nichols.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, that is all the action items we have this evening. We are going to go into a work session to discuss the Business Highway 151 corridor sidewalk, question of where we should have sidewalk and how we might fund that, and also 2016 budget themes. So that will be it for the televised portion of our meeting.